I'll get out of the way, obviously.
That's the introduce myself.
You can stand there, yeah? Okay. Yeah, just I'll be brief. My name's Nathan Krout, and this is my pitch or my idea for the social network, however you want to avoid it, basically.
Is it filming now?
It's filming now. I'll just cut the beginning off when I do it. Just talk to the camera, basically.
Hey, I'm Nathan Krout, and this is my pitch for my social networking documentary. My idea is that I want to look at, has social networking changed for teenagers for better or the worse? And do teenagers spend too much time on the internet? Because obviously the likes of Twitter, Facebook, and year after year teenagers spending more time on their phones and things. And also social networking safe, because obviously you've got someone, you're on the computer, you don't know who you're talking to on the other side of the computer. The way I would go about doing this documentary is kind of do it like a devil's advocate, look at both sides, social networking is safe, social networking isn't safe, and look at both sides of the argument. Sort of like when we watch the King of Kong documentary, that sort of looking at both sides so that the viewer can make up their own mind. My intended audience obviously would be teenagers themselves, to make them realise the dangers. There's no point doing a documentary saying, well, is social networking safe, but for a group of 50-year-olds, because they're not going to really use social networking and it's not really going to be relevant to them. But to show positives, to make the documentary a fair, balanced argument, there's no point going into my documentary like saying, well, yeah, social networking is completely bad, it should not be used, because it is not. It is good and it is bad. You've got to look at both sides of the argument. And the documentary would then leave the viewer to make up their own mind, because I'm not here to, I don't want to brainwash them, because that's not what a documentary should really be. Planning. I will need to complete a storyboard to show what's going to go on, and to arrange interviews with potential people. To have interviews with teenagers that are for, and to find teenagers that there's teenagers out there that disagree with social networking, and find out why they think it's bad. And also older people should feature in this, because they didn't necessarily have the opportunity to use the internet when they were a younger age. So it'd be good to find out what they think. I know a lot of old people think, well, teenagers spend too much time on their phones. Well, let's find out. Let's find them. Let's see why. Let's see why they think this. Filming. I'd like to shoot the people from different angles. So as you got the camera, the people for would be speaking this way, and when you see someone against, speaking this way. So it's kind of like you can sort of think, well, that's for, that's against, and you can kind of, it shows the spacing upside of the camera. It's who they're speaking to, and it's like they're bouncing back off ideas, going from for to against, that sort of thing. I'd like to use a variety of techniques, over the shoulder and close-ups. It's a lot of speaking. It's a lot of me going around interviewing them. So it'd be over my shoulder, asking them the questions. And obviously you've got to make sure people are being mic. I would be in a group of 3 or 4 people. We share the jobs and decide a leader to make the decisions, because if you've got 4 people, someone has to make the final decision, because not everyone is going to agree on everything. I think the 4 main jobs you need is a cameraman to film it, and the director to be able to look at it from a different angle to how they want to set it up, the interviewee to ask the questions, and the person holding the mic. There's 4 people. Legal and ethical issues. Well, health and safety won't be something to worry about too much, because it's literally just filming and interviewing. Obviously, if we're going outside onto the streets, make sure the cameras aren't left in the middle of the floor with wires stripping over. Just make sure it's a tidy, comfortable area for people to interview people. Although, because it is teenage, it is used in social networking, and we're talking about is it unsafe? Well, it's going to be more unsafe for people under the age of 18. Now that's going to be very difficult. That's where it comes into difficult, because people under the 18, you need to ask permission for them. You need to ask their parents permission for them to be in a film. You can't film a 15-year-old without them permission. And you can't ask the 15-year-old. You can't go to the 15-year-old and say, "Well, do you want to be in my documentary?" Because they'll say, "Yeah, that's not how it works." They have to have somebody making the decision. They're not suitable to make their decision. So consent forms, that would probably be The downside of this documentary is that there'll be a lot of consent forms. There's a lot of asking parents, can this person be in my documentary, because it is about, it's about them. And possible problems. You've got to make sure that the documentary is interesting. It's not the most interesting subject, because it's just social networking, and teenagers be like, well, yeah, I'm using it, it's safe. So you've got to make it interesting. It can be too boring, but that's the group's responsibility to do this. We've got to ask interesting questions, get follow-up questions. Getting these different. Making sure you have enough time to film. Running out of time with basics, battery, like camera battery. Making sure you're organised before we go out to shoot. Making sure that the camera is fully charged, because we'll be out on the streets doing various things we won't be inside the college. So you've got to do that. The budget, my budget wasn't high, because my budget, I did a mock-up budget. My budget wasn't very high, because I won't be needing things like costume, props, and extra days to film. One day, 4 people go out, film 1 camera. It's not like we're going to need loads of cameras, props. It's a very simple, a man with a camera asking questions. It's a very simple documentary, but it can be effective, because asking questions, the most interesting thing is people's opinions, I think, and finding out for and against. That's my documentary. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm Nathan Krout, and I'm going to talk about different camera techniques and show examples from different films in this presentation. Single camera techniques. This is where the filmmaker will only use one camera from various techniques. This means the filmmaker will shoot the same scene several times from different angles, as opposed to using several cameras to film the scene once and cutting them together. It's basic techniques, which I'm going to go into more great deal of technique. greater detail. Advantages. It's easier to show a motion for a single camera. Obviously it's cheaper to use one camera where buying several different cameras and filming at the same time from different angles, because what would generally happen is sometimes if you use if you use two cameras with the same scene, it would happen and one person would film it from one side and someone would film it from the other side. Well, obviously then you need two crews, two cameras. Whereas this is talking about filming a scene and filming it from one angle and then filming the other bit, but, you know, so you're speaking one bit from one bit, then you're filming the rest of it. You film it again, you film the same scene from a different angle. You're filming the same scene over and over again, as opposed to filming one scene with several cameras. And obviously you only need one crew, one person, one camera. It's cost effective. It's easier to move one camera as opposed to several cameras. If you're keep having to lug around 5 cameras, you know, it's time consuming. You know, it's harder. It makes a shot more feel more real to the audience. Very few cuts through the interview. If it had lots of cuts, then it wouldn't feel like you're having a conversation with them, but it would feel more like a film. Quicker to set up one camera as opposed to several. We'll talk about different shot types now and different shot types you can use with a camera. A wide shot. Now this shot is whole person in one shot and will show the audience as much as comfortably possible. Now it's not going to be zoomed out, you know, you can clearly see the whole shot, and the shot would usually show the entire subject in the frame. And you can see in this film, for example, Taken, you can see Liam Neeson, he's stood here and, you know, you can see his whole body. Showing the camera in there. An extra wide shot, well, it sets the scene but showing the object, emphasis to see where everybody is. You've got your main object, but you can see everybody around him. In Inception, you've got your man here, it's your wide shot, but it's wide. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 people in that shot, showing everybody around him. It gives the viewer what he can see. A very wide shot, well, this is an establishing shot. It sets the scene. It knows exactly where the scene is taking place and will cut to people. For example, in this film, My Sassy Girl, you can only very, very vaguely see the person. It sets the entire scene. It shows exactly where he is and his surroundings. The tree is, I'd say, the main object, not the person in the scene. A mid shot. Well, this is trying to decipher between a long shot and a medium shot. It can cause confusion. There is no right and wrong answer, but commonly they're known as the cowboy shot. It gives a far shot that gives sense of the subject. The mid shot is supposed to show a character's upper torso, shoulders and head. Well, in Valkyrie here, it's comfortable. You just see above his head, nothing below this. You know, it's a very comfortable shot. Probably the most common shot. Well, a close-up, medium and extreme. Your close-up, medium and extreme, all showing different sorts of things. Well, the close-up is this, and this is from a film called Old Boy, and this focuses on the face or certain mise en scene. A very intimate angle, as it will only show the expression of the character. Sorry, this is the medium close-up, so this is like a passport photo, shoulders and head of frame. A lot of space, something might happen behind them, common in horror films. It's, you know, if someone came up behind him, you'd be able to see this, because it's showing you, it's as if something's about to happen. It shows a gun, it's showing his emotions. Whereas in the same film, but this is a close-up. It focuses on certain facial expression. It's a very intimate angle because only her face is in the angle. So it's showing the importance of that character. It's, you know, what the viewer is getting at is something's happened. She's scared. You know, something happened. And even more extreme than this is the extreme close-up, and it's the same as a close-up, exaggerating the emotion. It might make the audience feel emotion because it can be uncomfortable to watch. You know, the grey man here, Liam Neeson, you're just showing his eyes. You're getting a lot from that eyes, and if I'm watching that, you can sort of feel uncomfortable because it's as if, you know, he is looking at you. You know, it's a very more, you know, each one's more extreme. One showing. This is, you know, it's showing more emotion, focusing on the emotion. Well, a cutaway. This is talking about something, and then it will cut away to it. Emphasis, something of interest. So in this example, the film The Godfather, Johnny Fontaine And when the dramatic part of his story is told, it cuts to the singer. The emphasis, he's talking about the singer, and it's dramatic. It cuts to the singer who he's talking about, and you can still hear him talking, but you see what he's talking about. And then it cuts back to what the girl he's talking about, to the girl he's talking to. And without the cutaway, there'd be no pause, and without pause, there wouldn't be half as dramatic. If he sat the whole scene talking about this singer, you wouldn't know who the singer is. You wouldn't know what the singer looked like. It would be no pause, it would be no dramatic. It causes drama. It makes the viewer more interested in what he's seeing. Cutting, this is the opposite. This is a cut to a body part, maybe trying to show something, expositions, helping the story move along. In this film, Pulp Fiction, if I remember rightly, he's going to stab the thing. It wants to cut to what he's stabbing. You know, it's making the viewer alarmed and scared at what they're seeing. It cuts to the needle, and then it'll cut back. Two shot. Well, this is where two objects are found in the same sort of frame. Usually a mid shot, but with two people. Usually a scene with a lot of dialogue because two people talking. Minimal background is shown as it's already been established in earlier scenes. So I've got two examples here. The first one is a film called In the Mood for Love, and these two people are in a very dramatic conversation. One's they're in an affair, and it's a very dramatic scene. So and there's a lot of dialogue. It's a very it's a film with a lot of dialogue. These are the two main characters. They're established. They're talking. Another example is Rain Man. These two people are the main characters in the film. So this shot here, they're both talking. They're playing in the casino. The two objects, which are very mid shots. The scene is emphasised on them. Over the shoulder shot. This shows the back of somebody. Shows him. Will give the perspective of that character. Obviously, you can't put the camera on someone's head. It's just showing what they can see, their point of view. Cutting back, and it will usually cut between both. So you'll have two people, and the camera will be on one shoulder and over, and it cuts back. It makes you think that. It makes the viewer think they are having the conversation, and it's common usually in an interview or conversation. So this film, you can see the back of the person's head. They're talking to this person, and then I'm guessing, and then later on in the film it cuts back, and it will be over their head talking to them. I've got a very different example here in the film Old Boy. You can see the camera is looking from the kind of front of the shoulder, and it's showing what's behind him. What the emphasis is, he's killed some people, he's walking away, and the camera can see what is left, what he's leaving behind. It's an uncommon over the shoulder shot, but it's another example of a shoulder shot. It's the opposite shoulder, because you can see his facial expression, but you can also see what he's leaving behind. It's a very clever scene. The noddy shot. This shows reaction to what's happening. Example, an interview, and cut back to the interviewee nodding and reacting. So the interviewer will ask someone a question. The interviewer will ask the interviewee a question, and they will give their answer, and it will cut back to the interviewee, who will give a nod, and it shows that he is recognising what has been said. He's recognising what is being said. A point of view shot. Well, this shows the camera as if it was the character's eyes. We talked about the over-the-shoulder shot being from their perspective, but it's not the same. A point of view is actually the camera is the eyes. And in Steven Spielberg's Jaws, his point of view is used to make the audience feel fear of him. The point of view is sharp. This bit is really far. It's just the top of the water. Well, it gets closer. He's getting closer to the body. The girl swimming. It's the opening scene. It makes the audience feel fear because it's creeping up on them. They sense the suspense, and they sense something bad going to happen because the villain is getting closer. But they also don't know who the villain is. It could be anybody, and it kind of makes the audience feel uneasy because they don't really know what it is. Another shot is the weather shot. This usually sets the scene, showing the skyline and weather. A weather shot doesn't just have to show the sky. It can illustrate the weather with shots of puddles, blowing trees, people sunbathing, snowmen, snowball fights, snow sledging. It doesn't just have to be, my example here is of Day After Tomorrow, and you can see the tornadoes blasting Hollywood, but a weather shot can be a group of people sunbathing at the beginning of a scene, because it shows the audience that, well, it's really hot, or if people were having a snowball fight, it's showing that it's in the winter. It can be very cleverly done. It doesn't have to be just it raining. It can be anything like this. A ping pong shot. Well, this shot's going back and forth like a ping pong. It's usually a bit like a ping pong ball. The shot's going back, forth, back, forth. Commonly known during an interview where two people are having a conversation. So I'll go to the person asking the questions, person answering, person questioning, person answering. It shows the emotion of both the interviewee and the interviewer. And I'd say more commonly known in films than in like a TV interview, because in a TV interview, the focus is just, no one cares about who the interviewer is. It's just about the celebrity or the famous person that they're interviewing. Whereas in films, like for example Frost Nixon, they're the two main characters. David Frost and Nixon, they are the two main characters. The viewer wants to know both these emotions. One's trying to break down the other. Right, the 180-degree rule, and this is where you set the scene up, and there is a sort of an invisible line, and the majority of films will stick to this rule. Otherwise, the audience can feel easily confused. The camera will always stay on one side of the line. If you choose chairs, the camera will always stay. We'll get to this point and back. As soon as the camera crosses that red line, the viewer can feel very uneasy, and it becomes very disoriented, because the camera's then got your interviewer, your interviewee on the left and the right. As soon as that camera switches, well, the interviewer becomes on the left and the interviewee becomes on the right. It can very cause, and then the viewer is more focused on about, well, what side, what's going on, than actually the dialogue being spoken. For example, in this film, Heat, it will cut to this side. It doesn't cross the line. He's always on that side. He's always on that side. It's very, it's staying on this side. If that can make sense there. If it crosses on the other side, then he would become on the right. So he's on the left, he's on the right. He's on the left, he's on the right. It stays like that when they're having that conversation. Now, I've spoke about all these different camera techniques, but there's many films where two techniques can cross over. These examples have been given in the presentation. In this film, you can see that Sergio Leone has used both a wide angle and a wide, used a wide angle and a wide shot, and an over the shoulder shot. He's incorporating many different angles into this scene, and it can cause, dramatic suspense. It does everything. Now I'm going to talk about the camera angles. Rules of third. Well, this is an imaginary grid of 9, and it's a framing, it's a concept, and it's reference points to help frame the image. It's common, but it's not always essential. It's very in this point. But you can see here in the film 7, he's set up on this side. So if he was there, there's no space for him. It becomes very close. You have to have the speaker always has space on him who he's speaking to, otherwise he's just speaking to a wall. It becomes very disorientating to the viewer. A slanted angle. Well, also known as the Dutch angle, the camera's tilted, creating interest and dramatic atmosphere. This is sort of a wacky film. In very horror films you'll see this, but also I've got an example from The Dark Knight. The Joker, he's a very crazed person, so his angle is very crazed. The camera angle reflects his personality. It creates unease for the viewer because it's not a natural sight. He's not a natural sight for people, so the camera is going to make him slanted and kind of double up that wacky feeling, if you like. Eye level. This is the most natural shot. Most camera shots are level or with the head. It's just normal. In this film, his eyes, the camera is eye level. It's who you're looking at. If you're looking down on him and looking up at him, you're not doing that. You're looking straight at him. It's just natural feeling. So you're not really thinking about the camera angle. You're thinking more about the dialogue that is going on. A bird's eye view shot. Well, this shows a scene from directly overhead. Most unnatural because the audience may feel it's strange and uncomfortable because you're looking down. That's never a natural feeling. You'd never go around looking like this. It's very natural. However, it puts the audience, godlike. It sort of puts you, sort of godlike position, looking down on everything that's happening. In this film, Andy Dufresne's just got out of prison. He's looking up at God. You are God. He's looking up at you because he's broke out of prison, and he's like, thank you God. So you're the godlike. You're looking at him. That becomes that sort of feeling for the viewer. The low and high angle shot. Well, the high angle to usually show status. It makes the camera look less powerful, and the low angle again it's to show status, make the character feel even bigger and more powerful. So in Batman and Robin from the '66 show here, the camera is very low, and you're looking because these are very powerful people. These are superheroes. You're looking up to them. So the camera's like this. Right. So this film, it's a low angle. You're looking down on the character here. This is from the film Citizen Kane, but you're looking down. You're more powerful than this man, whereas in this, he's more powerful than you, to show status. A pickup shot. Well, these are specifically planned. There may be a scene with a lot of dialogue from one person, and then the director will decide that to shoot certain objects that the film may cut into this particular scene. On the other hand, pickup shots can be shots that are filmed after the production process to fill in any missing gaps that may have been left after filming. When you filmed your film, you look at it and you think, well, we finished our filming, but we need that, this, and this. We'll go out and pick up shots. We'll film close-ups of this, film close-ups of that, and cut it into the film. Create cutaways, create cut-ins. It's to make up the missing gaps of your film. Talk about basic camera techniques now. Your panning. This is the framing will move left to right without any vertical movement. You're moving along. You're panning what is going on. You're doing this. You're tilting. This frame moves up and down with no horizontal movement. You're stood still and you're just looking up and down. Seeing you're going up the view. More commonly, you'll see it when you're establishing a character and you're looking from the beginning, from their feet, and you're going up to their head. You're panning up. You're tilting up. Sorry. The zoom. This frame is in and out, and now it gives you a much closer view of the film. It looks as though the camera is moving in and out, but it's not. The camera is still, and it's just zooming in, getting a close up of that object. And follow. This is for any shot when the camera is moving to keep up with the action. Or for like high-paced action films, the camera will be moving with the person running. It's a very jagged feeling. However, it's hard to keep still, so it's not, it's hard to keep still. The formats of where these cameras can be used are, in a series. Now, a series isn't shown repeatedly on television. It has a break, and more episodes will cut out. A series will be made up of usually a maximum of 20 episodes, but it's different from the UK and America. An example of a series would be Prison Break, because this was aired on television, but it was in 4 different sections. There was one series. It broke, it wasn't repeated on TV, then the next series came out. And it's like, one series is the film, it's a very long, in different episodes, and then they'll be like, well, we're going to do a follow-up series now, and it'll be the same process as if you were bringing out a new film, or you're bringing out that new series. A serial, well, a television program that is shown in installments. An example of this could be Doctor Who, it's one episode, occasionally, it's very serial, sometimes on. And a single drama is, a television that is aired very occasionally. Usually you see this on ITV, BBC. It's a one-off drama. An example of this could be ITV's The Craze. There's hundreds of examples, but it's just one episode out of comic, like a special edition. It's like a kind of like a TV film. It's not on DVD. It's not on cinema, but it's just shown on you. You watch it probably an hour to 2 hours. It's that. Well, what is a genre? Well, this is what each film is put into a category. Your crime, this genre will be close-up shots, cutting angle, and also medium close-up to show the tension and purpose. For example, The Bill will use a lot of these angles. Crime television shows, you want to keep it closed up, causing suspense. Musicals, well, a bit like Grease, this will use wide and extreme shots because you want to show everybody dancing. It's not usually one person, it's a lot of people. Soap opera, well, this is a wide range of shots, pretending that a soap opera can have different storylines, so they would use different shots all the time, but most commonly we use eye level, but sometimes low and high angles, and the point of view when having a conversation, because it's mostly two people talking. It's a lot of dialogue. A lot of dialogue. narrative structures. Well, a linear. When there is a beginning, middle, and end, and the move runs very smoothly. For example, soap operas will never mix these up. You know, linear films, it's just simple. Your beginning, middle, end. There's no cutting backs. Your non-linear, on the other hand, is just where the film will mix the beginning, middle, and end. For example, Inception, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Memento. It's you'll show one bit, come back. You know, it's as if the film's been made, cut up, and mixed. You know, it's this kind of effective and so directors like Tarantino, he likes to do this. It's this sort of way of filming. And then there's a flashback. This is when you have got your beginning, middle, and end, but the character will have flashbacks. It's not like the film's cut up, the characters just have flashbacks. And like Slumdog Millionaire, Jamil, when he's asking the questions, he's having flashbacks to what happened previously. And films can end very differently as well. You can have an open or a closed ending. Now, open films, this is where the film is left on a cliffhanger to keep the audience wanting to know what has happened. Usual Suspects could be classed as an open ending because the film stops and you don't really, the viewer's like, well, did this happen? It's as if they need to make another film to clarify what's happened. The viewer isn't completely satisfied. You don't know what's happened. Whereas a closed ending, when the film stops and the viewer knows what's happened. So examples, hundreds from Shawshank Redemption. The film's beginning and end, the climax, the ending of your film's done. The viewer knows. And they watch it and they feel happy because they know what's going on. Whereas, films can end on cliffhangers. You never know. Some films have said they're going to make sequels, but they never have. Now, the technical aspects of making your film. A camera, obviously, a device which takes and stores photographs and film. Your lighting, the type of equipment that can produce and create light when it's needed. Sound, you can use different soundtracks to suit the scene being used. Your editing, this is cutting and pasting between different scenes into the required order, making the film flow a bit better, cutting it to how it should be, make it viewing much easier. If you film something, there might be a few seconds here and there that a bit of pause. You cut them out, the film makes the film run smoothly. Scripting, you need to give your actors the script to follow so they know what has to be said. Building a scene, this moves the films forward and is the beginning block from the story being told. And also building a story is a scene which helps build the story and creates tension. And I think that's everything. Thank you very much.
Oh. I just stopped now. Just finished.
Oh, brilliant. That's a good timing, wasn't it? Cool. Just set a little break, basically, so if you need to go on break.
Yeah, stopped and I had to. I can't remember. Where's this?
That's cool. You go and sort yourself out. I'll take the camera apart and all that.
I did the documentary one first.